When I get back, you're supposed to be gone, right? And this month's almost over. How about you hand over the divorce papers, the final task? Beside my husband, there were a woman and a child. The woman was holding hands with the child about kindergarten age. Let me introduce you, soon to be my wife, Vicky. Vicky was still young and quite flashy. I've said it earlier, but you and I are strangers now. You no longer have the right to be in this house. My husband said, suddenly flashing an unpleasant grin. Sign the divorce papers, and you and your son get out of here. His gaze bore down on me and Rufus, gleaming with triumphant light. He must have believed everything was going smoothly according to his plan. But he slumped on the spot upon realizing the truth. How could you do this? I thought you were just a clueless housewife. When my husband muttered, Rufus responded incredulously. Dad, you don't know anything? Showing him a book, Rufus drove him half-crazed. My name is Miranda. I'm a housewife and have a part-time job. I have a 16-year-old son with a husband who works for a trading company. He's been on frequent business trips, both domestically and internationally, so I've mostly been raising our son on my own. Nowadays, he's on solo assignments, so we're practically living apart. We communicate mostly through online calls or messages. Although he's still in the country, day trips are a bit out of the question due to the distance. He only comes back around Christmas, Thanksgiving, or Labor Day. Even then, it's mostly to visit his parents' house, which is about an hour's drive away, so we rarely get to spend time as a family of 3 at home. The relationship with my husband is neither good nor bad. I think it's quite normal for couples who've been married for over a decade. We have familial affection, but the romantic spark seems to have faded. My husband works for a reputed trading company, so we've never faced financial difficulties. With him often away, I opted to be a stay-at-home mom when Rufus was younger, to ensure he didn't feel lonely, a decision my husband agreed with. However, as Rufus entered the later years of elementary school and my husband started his solo assignment, I noticed a slight annoyance towards me from him. My brother was the same at that age, it seems to be a phase they go through. So, I started thinking about getting a job myself. It's okay, if you want to work, but I don't want to be seen as a useless man. Was my husband's first reaction when I discussed working. Choose something that aligns with your hobbies or gives you a sense of progression. While I thought any job would do as long as it suited me, I considered my husband's opinion and decided to work as an assistant at a flower arrangement class. I have a teaching certificate in flower arrangement, and since my husband's job involves dealing with people from overseas, I thought it would be beneficial. That's great. It'll come in handy if I get transferred overseas. My husband agreed, so I've been continuing with that job since then. Although we don't face financial struggles, I still want to have a thorough discussion with my husband about Rufus's future. I've been thinking we need to have a proper talk about the future. My husband's response put me at ease. Rufus is a freshman in high school, and he'll be moving up to sophomore year this fall. It's about time he started seriously thinking about his future path. They're talking about me going back to headquarters this fall. It's perfect timing with the whole advancing to the next grade thing. That's what my husband said during the summer holiday when he came back. What he meant by future plans was something I never expected. I want a divorce. He just started saying that out of the blue, without even giving a reason first. We've been living separately for a long time now, and I think that's reason enough for divorce. Now's the perfect time for both of us to start new lives. Wait. This is so sudden. It was like a bolt from the blue. I hurriedly tried to stop him from speaking further. You're calling it living separately, but it's just because you've been on solo assignments. I never intended to live separately. But you didn't come with me, did you? That's because of Rufus's school and your father. My FIL is alive and well, living alone in a retirement home. Originally, this house we're living in was my husband's family home, but when we got married, my in-laws moved out and into that retirement home. My husband and FIL didn't have a good relationship. While my MIL was alive, my husband still kept in touch with his parents, but after she passed away, he completely cut off contact. I told you to leave him alone, didn't I? He's in a proper facility, and we don't need to take care of him. But I can't just leave him like that. The strained relationship between my husband and his father wasn't due to any particular big reason. It was just an accumulation of small things over the years. Even though my FIL and late MIL were both really nice people. So I had gotten along well with both of them and kept in touch with my FIL even after he was left alone. I also visited his retirement home from time to time. You did that on your own, right? I never asked you to do that. That's true, but it's not so easy to just brush it off. And what about Rufus's school? You could have transferred him if you really wanted to. Didn't you say you wanted Rufus to go to that school? Rufus took the entrance exam and entered a private school with a combined elementary and junior high school. I did want that, but even so, if you really wanted to, you could have transferred him, right? But you can't just do something like that. So basically, you didn't choose to live with me. So, I'm asking you this. With that, my husband handed me a pre-filled form. I've come back, but you can't stay with me like this. I'll stay in a hotel or something. With that final statement, my husband left the house. I was left dumbfounded. Why aren't the lights on? Where's Dad? Rufus had gone to see a movie with his friends that day. He didn't come back until the late summer sun had completely set. My husband came back and left around mid-afternoon. I seemed to have been sitting there for hours, still frozen in place. What's this? Rufus picked up the divorce papers that had been left on the coffee table in the living room. What should I do? What should I say to explain this? I still hadn't sorted out my own thoughts, let alone figured out what to say to Rufus. Seeing me frozen like that, Rufus let out a sigh and left the divorce papers behind as he walked out. Oh, not only my husband but also my son is abandoning me. As I thought about it, dumbfounded, Rufus returned immediately. Eat up. You won't think straight if you're hungry. Eat well, get a good night's sleep, and then let's think about what to do from here. Rufus handed over a plate with 2 large sandwiches on it, saying so. They were large, with filling overflowing, but he must have put a lot of effort into making them. Thinking that, tears welled up involuntarily. Just eat already. Rufus pretended not to notice my tears and said that, and I ate the sandwich while crying. It was a simple sandwich, but it tasted better than any feast I had ever eaten. Since returning to his work away from home assignment, my husband has sent me several messages. Here's what they basically say. I want a divorce by next fall. I'll make sure to pay Rufus's child support until he's an adult. Currently, adulthood starts at 18, but since he'll turn 18 while still in high school, I'll take care of him until he graduates. I'm astonished by the tone of his words, as if he's graciously agreeing to pay. Rufus isn't just my child, he's our child. How can he speak so arrogantly about his minimum obligations? When the unaccompanied assignment ends in the fall, I'll move back into that house. So, you better prepare to leave by then. You should be able to find a decent place within half a year. I'll even cover the moving expenses out of kindness. If he insists on us leaving the house, then of course, if we have to move, he should pay for it. But I can't fathom why there's such a need for us to leave this house. The reason for the divorce is the natural breakdown of our marriage, so I won't pay any alimony. However, I appreciate your years of hard work as a homemaker and mother, so I'm willing to provide some financial assistance. Of course, I won't ask you for any alimony. I don't feel the need to pay any alimony at all. I wasn't living a life of leisure. While it's true we lived apart, whenever my husband couldn't return here, I visited his temporary assignment location with Rufus, and we lived as a normal family. The idea of a natural breakdown is simply unacceptable. If you can't support yourself with your current job, I'm willing to help you find another one. But if that happens, you'll have to leave this town. I'm sure you wouldn't want to run into me. My job as a floral arrangement assistant alone isn't enough to support myself. But I can't accept being asked to leave this town and find work elsewhere. Why should I have to do that? I'll transfer custody of Rufus to you. He'll probably feel more comfortable with you, considering you've been living together for years. Besides, he's almost an adult, he won't need to rely on his parents forever. If you say Rufus needs something, I might consider discussing it, but I won't be requesting visitations. If we end up divorcing, I certainly intend to have custody of Rufus. But from the way he's worded it, it seems like my husband is ready to discard his son as well. How can he be so heartless? I can't imagine how much it would hurt Rufus if he knew about all of this. After reading through everything, I let out a sigh. There's not a single reason I can find to agree with any of this. What a selfish stance to take. When he first told me about the divorce, I was shocked and devastated, but now I'm starting to think that I don't want anything to do with such a selfish person. I went to his temporary assignment to talk to my husband. It's work hours, but I have the spare key to the apartment. When I entered, the room was as tidy as always, with no signs of life. He's always been meticulous, but it really looks like a model room. As I waited in the room, my husband came home in the evening. So, you came. If you were coming, you should have let me know. He said it grumpily. Did you bring the divorce papers for me that you signed today? I'm fine with it, so you can just submit them yourself. He didn't even glance at me, just took off his suit jacket and loosened his tie. He hung them all neatly on hangers, pulling them to smooth out any wrinkles. This person was always like that. I remember the time we lived together. Everything was neat and tidy, without a single flaw. Maybe it's a surprise inspection for women? If so, that's a shame. Certainly, there's no sign of that at all. What did you do for dinner? I already ate. It's pretty much always like this. When was the last time we enjoyed home-cooked meals at home? My husband said sarcastically, then took a cold beer from the fridge, sat down at the table, and started drinking. You get it, right? Why I said I want a divorce. I'm tired of living like this for years. Well, you should have told me you wanted me to come. With Rufus there, and you starting to work even part-time, there's a rhythm to life. I can't just ask you to throw it all away. My husband said, taking another sip of beer. After living like this for a while, one day I just thought, maybe we don't need a family after all. He seems to be insisting that the cause of the divorce is our separate lives due to his temporary assignment. Well, then, can you at least wait until Rufus graduates from high school? It's just 2 more years, or rather, 1.5. No, it has to be by next fall. What's so special about that fall? My husband reacted slightly to these words I blurted out. I told you, I'll be returning to headquarters. I thought it was a good opportunity. Can't we at least spend the last year as a family? No, it has to be by next fall. The discussion reached an impasse, and my husband's insistence was clear. He wanted a divorce by next fall, no matter what. Unable to do anything, I left my husband's room and stayed in a hotel that day, deciding to leave the next day. I couldn't bear waiting in that room with my husband. I stopped visiting him after that. It was pointless, I realized. We communicated through recorded messages, and I began to take action for the autumn. First, discussing the parts of my husband's proposal that I couldn't accept. I want him to pay Rufus's tuition until he graduates from college. If he refuses, I won't sign the divorce papers. Then an angry call came. I said until he's an adult. If you don't like that, I won't pay a penny of Rufus's support after the divorce. That's impossible. Until we file for divorce, we're still married. Besides, you have a legal obligation to support Rufus until he's an adult. After several exchanges on this matter, my husband finally gave in. Fine, I'll pay for Rufus's tuition until he graduates from college. But only for 4 years. If he repeats a year or something, I won't pay for anything beyond that. Okay, I understand. I'll count on you for the next 4 years. And please make sure to formalize it in writing. Do you not trust me? Of course not, there's no way I could. Suddenly presenting a divorce for such a reason. If it's not properly documented, who knows when he might change his mind. If you won't listen, we'll go to divorce mediation. If we can't settle it there, then it's off to court. After I said that, he brought the paperwork. Instead, I won't pay any consolation money for the divorce. Fine, that's perfectly fine with me. Of course, I won't pay either. Got it. Then hurry up and file for divorce. Each time he spoke, I pointed out the parts of the divorce terms that I couldn't agree with. Now, about the division of assets, I expect that to be done properly as well. I supported you while you were unemployed, and you still intend to take more from me? I wasn't just being supported by you, I was raising our child. If you're going to call that being a jobless parasite, let's settle it in mediation or court. With that, my husband reluctantly agreed to the division of assets, and of course, we had it notarized. My husband had a high income, so it amounted to a considerable sum. That should be enough. Hurry up and file for divorce. Well, it's fine until next fall, right? There might still be something left to do, so please wait. If you think I'll withdraw the divorce just because you drag it out like this, you're mistaken. As autumn approaches, my husband becomes increasingly irritable. Why are you so worked up? A little delay won't hurt, will it? It's a big deal. Do you have some urgent reason for rushing this? If you do, tell me, and I'll consider it. Even if I offered concessions, he insisted there wasn't such a thing. Then I don't think there's any problem if I don't agree to the divorce until I'm satisfied. Well, for now, I'm the one in control. I'll let it drag on until I'm satisfied. While I hesitated to sign the divorce papers, I continued to make progress on various matters, and several months passed quickly. When will you finally submit the divorce papers? Summer has already begun. My husband, who hadn't returned even on Memorial Day, sounded impatient. Well, summer has arrived indeed. But there's still 3 months until fall. And a little delay shouldn't be a problem, I think. Even so, I'm telling you to file for divorce by the end of the fiscal year. I want to be divorced by the time I return to headquarters. Even if you say that, I'm not able to make up my mind right away, and there are many things to do. I evaded my husband's demands with ease. And by the way, have you already decided on a place to live? Don't worry, that's already taken care of. Good to know. By the start of the new fiscal year, I'll be commuting from that house. My husband let out a relieved sigh at my words. Please be careful on your way back. Sure, but remember, both you and Rufus will be leaving that house when I return. I won't be coming back to you, so keep that in mind. I didn't need to be told that. I had no intention of accepting him as family anymore. And in the last week of August, my husband came home. While many agreements had been made, the divorce papers still hadn't been submitted. You promised to leave when I returned, didn't you? And it's almost the end of this month, so how about you give me the divorce papers for the final task? Next to him, there was a woman and a child. The woman was holding hands with a child about kindergarten age. Let me introduce you. This is soon to be my wife, Vicky. Vicky was still young and quite flashy. Nice to meet you. Is that your son over there? Vicky, feeling somewhat embarrassed, gently hid the child behind her. Excuse me, what's your name? Hey, cut it out. It's none of your business. My husband also defended the child and said that to me. I've said it earlier, but you're already a stranger to me. You and your son have no right to be in this house anymore. With that said, my husband suddenly smirked, a nasty grin spreading across his face. Sign the divorce papers and get out of the house with your son. His gaze looked down on me and Rufus, filled with a triumphant light. So that's what it is after all. What's the matter with that? We already settled various agreements. All that's left is to submit the divorce papers, and it's decided that there won't be any divorce compensation either, right? I'm relieved to hear that. I heard he gave you various things, so there's no need to feel guilty anymore. The last words seemed to be directed at my husband. That's right. I really wanted to have everything sorted out and the marriage registered by today, but I'm really sorry about that one point. But at least we'll make it in time for Ethan's enrollment. Yes, that's why my husband rushed the divorce. It was to make it in time for the new school year enrollment for Vicky's child. I can understand the desire as a parent to enroll one's child in elementary school as a responsible parent. But that's a different story altogether. I tell my husband and Vicky. As for the divorce compensation, I'll take it. But it should be clearly stated in the notarized document that there won't be any divorce compensation. Yes, for the divorce. I present the notarized document that I had prepared. We won't pay divorce compensation for the divorce, but I'll take it for the relationship between that woman and your son. And of course, from that woman as well. Don't joke around. I won't pay a single cent for that. My husband shouted excitedly. The child called Ethan flinched and clung to Vicky. I'm not joking. You can claim compensation for adultery within 3 years of knowing the fact. It's clearly stated like that. Divorce compensation and adultery compensation are different matters. But now that it's clear that your reasons for divorce, the long periods of separation due to work, were lies, it seems you'll have to pay divorce compensation as well. What did you say? The real reason for divorce is those people. You want to divorce me and remarry that woman and acknowledge the child, right? If that's the reason, then of course, I would have claimed compensation. It's clearly defined in the law. In cases of divorce by fraud or coercion, the divorce itself can be annulled. A person who entered into marriage by fraud or coercion may petition the family court for annulment of that marriage. I showed the documents I had to my husband and Vicky. Divorce hasn't been finalized yet, but I think the contents of that notarized document can be revised. My husband's hand holding the documents was trembling. So let's discuss the divorce compensation again properly. I told my husband with a broad smile on my face. In that case, there's no deal for Rufus's tuition. That's impossible. There's no reason to revoke it. It's the same notarized document. My husband desperately argued, but that's not going to work. It's the same, but the content is different, right? If I had lied, maybe that argument could stand, but I have nothing to hide. That's the truth, and it's a fact. I want my husband to fulfill his duties as Rufus's parent, so I requested it, and my husband accepted it. There's no lie there. So I don't think your claim will go through. Enough already, I get it. I'll pay, just shut up about it. Thank you. I smiled broadly, making sure my husband and Vicky felt as frustrated as possible. What a greedy woman. My husband spat out. But as long as I pay, right? So go ahead and pay. Sure, whatever. In fact, I already submitted it this morning. Here, this is the certificate. I handed my husband the acknowledgement of receipt for the divorce application. Once we've got this, it's all ours as planned. My husband showed it to Vicky, and they nodded satisfactorily at each other. All right, then the discussion over. You don't have any reason to be here, so get out. Well, about that, Rufus and I have the right to stay here. It's you who should leave. Don't talk nonsense, this is my house. Poor husband, he doesn't know. I need to inform him properly. Whose name is on the title of this house? That would be my old man's. And what's his is mine. No, it's in my name. Upon hearing that, my husband looked surprised for a moment, but then he laughed and said, You think it's in your name because you have the right to reside here, huh? I wouldn't make such a stupid mistake. If I divorce you, you're no longer related to my old man, which means you lose the right to live in this house. I sighed and handed him another document. What do you mean? My husband's eyes widened as he looked at the document. I was adopted by your father. And as part of that, he decided to leave this house to me. What I showed my husband was a family register. It clearly stated that I was adopted. That's absurd. That's true. Your father did it because he always cared about me like his own daughter. After my husband mentioned divorce, I consulted with my FIL. Both of my real parents are gone. They both passed away shortly after getting married. My in-laws treated me like their own daughter because of that. So I treated my in-laws better than their own son. My FIL told me to investigate properly and used a private detective to do so. As a result, I found out that my husband had a hidden child with another woman. So, you wanted to work away from home just to live with that person you've been involved with before, right? Vicky was working as a hostess at a nightclub when she met my husband. She was only 20 at the time, but she quickly bonded with my husband and they became close. Then she got pregnant. My husband thought it over and decided to lead a double life to live with Vicky and their child. I visited your work away from home several times, but I couldn't see any trace of a woman at all. My husband had 2 houses at his unaccompanied assignment destination. One was the sweet home to live with those people. The other was a camouflage to deceive us when we visited, to hide the fact that there was a woman there. After my husband went on an unaccompanied assignment, I went to visit him with Rufus many times. I was always impressed by how neat it was, but of course, since he wasn't actually living there, it was the same as not living there at all. My husband even installed cameras in that house and set it up so that he would be notified if anyone entered the room. When your father found out about it, he was furious and said he wouldn't leave you anything, it would all go to Rufus. Then he offered to adopt me. Seriously? My husband must have believed that everything was going according to his plan, but he collapsed when he found out the truth. Do you understand what disinheritance means? Your father is going through that process. What's that? In simple terms, it means removing you as a legal heir to your father. If the family court approves it, you will no longer be a legal heir, and the inheritance will go to Rufus through intestate succession. When the inheritor who is to leave the property behind wishes to exclude the inheritor who holds the right for some reason, there is a way to exclude them from inheritance. In this situation, my husband is almost estranged from his father, and the father decided to take this action because of the husband's excessively cruel treatment of his wife and child. When the deceased has assets, there are rights to the illegitimate heirs, who are presumed to be intestate heirs, after the deceased's death. It's the last resort when you don't even want to hand over the minimum assets. My FIL said he would do that out of gratitude for the years of friction with my husband, his gratitude for me being there for instead of his son, and his apology for my husband's actions. When my husband loses his qualification as an heir, Rufus, as his grandson, will be recognized as an intestate heir through intestate succession. However, if my husband is dissatisfied with that decision, it will be disputed in court. For that possibility, my FIL decided to adopt me and give me this house as an advance inheritance. He decided to do that after consulting with your father. How could you do such a thing? I thought you were just a housewife who didn't know anything. My husband muttered, and Rufus responded incredulously. Huh, Dad, you didn't know anything about this? Rufus handed a book to my husband. What's this book, The Splendid Deductions of Mrs. Rose? Oh, I know it. It's a popular novel right now, about to be adapted into an anime soon. I've been reading it too, I love it. It's a book my mom wrote. She studied a lot to write it, got pretty knowledgeable about law and stuff in the process. Rufus's words left the two of them stunned. I certainly appeared to be just a naive housewife who hadn't done anything, as my husband believed. But writing was my secret passion, and I continued to post novels on a writing website without my husband noticing. I wrote a series set in the flower arrangement class where I worked part-time, featuring a housewife assistant known as Mrs. Rose, who solves challenging mysteries one after another. It became a huge hit. I never heard about any of this. I thought I should come clean with you soon, especially with talk of an anime adaptation, but then you brought up divorce first. Such a pity. Well, the royalties from that book are marital assets, right? And how much are you getting from the anime deal? And we'll need to divide that up properly, won't we? Unfortunately, the divorce is already finalized. The royalties and anime earnings have nothing to do with you anymore. Upon hearing my words, my husband let out a loud gasp and repeatedly exclaimed, "That's a lie," over and over again. Unbelievable. After years of trying to deceive and belittle me, you suddenly see value in me? If you have any issues, please consult a lawyer from now on. Now, get out of here. So, I kicked my husband and Vicky out of the house right away. I felt sorry for little Ethan, but there was nothing I could do for him. My husband sent multiple requests for reconciliation, but there was no way I was going to accept that. More importantly, recognize Ethan properly. He's starting school soon, right? It's not fair to leave him hanging like this forever. After that, Vicky also pressured him to recognize Ethan, and they eventually got married and became proper parents. It was only natural for the sake of their responsible child. After the elementary school entrance ceremony was over, I waited for things to settle on their end before sending a registered letter regarding the alimony. After all, it was years of infidelity and leading a double life. The amount of alimony was substantial. You're making quite a fortune, aren't you? Then how about reducing the alimony? Forget about it. Such a ridiculous request was promptly rejected, of course. Regardless of who I am, there's no denying you've hurt me deeply. Alimony is money to compensate for that hurt, to express an apology in terms of money. It's unrelated to my income. When I threatened further rejection leading to a trial, he paid up obediently. He seemed to have borrowed the alimony for 2 people from the company. Though he managed to borrow money from the company, his actions were eventually exposed. Moreover, the offer for a job assignment away from home was apparently for this purpose. The mills of the gods grind slowly, but they grind exceedingly fine. God sees everything, as they say. The company's higher-ups were furious at being used for such immoral purposes. As a result, he was demoted and transferred to a subsidiary in a rural area. His salary decreased, and now both of them were working desperately to repay the debt. But ultimately, it was for the best. Ethan could start a new life in a new place without knowing about his parents' past, starting afresh as a normal family. No innocent child would suffer for their parents' actions. As for me, after the divorce, my works were adapted into anime as planned and became quite a sensation. Merchandise was also released, and in this era where ebooks are becoming more dominant, the printed books sold with bonuses became a big hit. The editors keep pressing for the next work. With my busy life, I have no room to dwell on past emotional wounds or reminisce. My animated work has also been broadcast overseas, generating significant feedback. Despite everything Rufus had been through, he grew up straight and honest. He said he would be searching for what he really wanted to do, what he was good at, during his 4 years of university. It's my life anyway, so I won't rely on Mom. Despite his cheekiness, as a parent, I would be happy if he relied on me a little more. For now, I might as well write a new story with a cheeky college student as the protagonist. I have a feeling the next work will be a hit too. While watching my dependable son, I can't help but think such thoughts on my own.